Convo Fango today. We are joined by
Thank
the
you.
one and only Heather Langenkamp. Thank you.
You. Glad to be here today.
This is
Yeah, I
very
have to
exciting.
say, Fangoria fans are my OG original gangsta fans because I think the very first convention I ever went to was a Fango convention in New York City was before anybody even really went to them, and it was so much fun. So I always will fondly think of Fango as home, my home base for fandom.
That's a pretty freaking cool distinction. That was before my time, but I'm proud to now be like, linked to that
Part of it.
memory. Yeah,
Yeah, you're part of the whole. Yeah, it's a dynasty, right? It's a
it
big dynasty.
absolutely, yes. But that's
I
that's
don't
pretty
know
cool.
about this weird blur. I might have to go unblur.
You might have to unblur it. Let's see.
I might have to unblur just because of my hair. I mean, it's looking so weird. Okay, here we go. I'm unblurring.
All
We're in the
right.
office of David Leroy Anderson, so you just can, when you're bored with me, just look in the background. There's some cool stuff.
I like that that was like a reveal though. We didn't
Yeah, it was
start
a big
off this
reveal.
way. And people were
I
like, I
know.
wonder where she is.
Yeah.
Ta-da! All right. Yeah, I can't do green screen because then my hair gets weird. It like does this weird thing and like this
Because you
becomes
kind
a
of have
weird
almost green. I know. It's very. Well, I just have so much hair that if any of it gets cut away, I feel like I'm not my real self.
it shaves it down in weird angles. It looks a little unnatural. You're like,
So
what
true.
happened? What happened there, buddy?
I know. And these engineers are paid a lot of money and they still haven't gotten it down. So
The hair is a tricky thing. It is not to be messed with. It's not to be
I know.
trifled with.
Well, your hair looks fabulous today.
Well, thank you. Your hair always looks fabulous. I've never
Very
seen you with
frizzy.
not fabulous hair.
Oh, thank you.
It's not frizzy,
That's
it's
very
got
sweet.
body, it's got volume. That's like a
I
desired
know I've got
thing.
a lot of body, especially in this humid weather that we're getting here in LA for the first time ever. We're having humidity. So
Big
it's nice.
hair, big dreams. That's what I like to say. All right, so we're actually here talking about not
The
Midnight Mass,
Midnight Club.
the Midnight Club.
Midnight Club. Yes, I beat you to it.
You did. That was well done. You can take my job. So
It's a super exciting project, and I'm just now have watched only 8 episodes of it. So I still haven't watched the whole thing, and I'm just amazed by it. It's really fun to watch, and God, I really am hoping everybody likes it.
I have a feeling everyone's going to eat it up. What can you tell us about it without being spoilery?
Well, I can tell you that for the first time, I'm playing a woman who is very mysterious, but she is a doctor who owns a hospice for kids with cancer. And so that right there puts this show in a place that very few shows have ever gone, which is really dealing with death and on a such a personal and visceral level for each of these kids. They all have cancer, and ironically, the story is about life, like what, all of us should really think and contemplate, how do we want to live especially if we know we don't have a long life ahead of us.
Mhm.
If we all knew we were going to die, we would say before our time, which is meaningless, but how would you live your life and what would matter to you, and how would you create friendships, and you know it has a sense of like we're the last people on this island. I mean, there's a sense that they're very marooned in this place out of their circumstance, and so they have to pass the time by telling stories. And this is, there's a lot of other books in the world that have similar structure where, like Boccaccio's Decameron, where they're stuck in a place and they start telling stories. And so that's really what the show is about. It's telling stories, your own story. Uh, what do you include in your story about you, or
Mhm.
what's the horror story that you tell? Like, and that tells a lot about you, the kind of horror that you like, right? Like
Right.
I like ghost stories. And so if I had a chance to tell a horror story or a scary story, I would tell a ghost story for
Mhm.
sure. But other people would tell, homicidal maniac stories, or other people would tell like hitchhiking gone wrong kind of scary stories, or weird neighbor across the street story. Like everyone has their own type of horror that really speaks to them, and this show definitely goes into that.
I love that. And also, it's not just dealing with mortality and death, which is already like that strikes such a chord, or for me personally, and I think for many of us, because that's something we all have to deal with at some point on some level.
Yeah,
But it's not
better
just
sooner. I
mortality.
mean,
Yeah.
that's think about it. Yeah, before it gets too late. That's all I can say.
Exactly. Yeah. And like this is now taking it and applying it to young people, which is a weird that messes with your brain a little bit because it's like, no,
Yeah,
like in the grand scheme of things, it's supposed to be like we live to be like 90 or 100, you know? So when you
right.
put mortality on a teenager, it's like it's an uncomfortable kind of
It's
thing.
really, I mean, especially in our country, we really don't like to think about it. And it's ironic that horror is such a big genre in our country and that people love it so much, but yet the idea of death and dying is very taboo, even to talk about, even in your family, or, you know, even like the details of how you want to be buried, or like, do you want to donate your organs? Like in some families, like they can't even talk about that. So,
Yeah.
um, this is going to open up a lot of people's eyes to, you know, a new way of thinking about, you know, how we're going to spend our last months, years, you know, on this planet.
I am so all for that though. Like I think I've always kind of tried to just live that not in a morbid way. Like I mean, I was a morbid kid as well, but also just like the idea of like however long we have here, it's not infinite. So whether that's 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, like we don't get an endless amount of time here. So it's always in the back of my mind, like do the shit that you want to do, live the way that you want to
Yeah,
live.
do that stuff first, you know, don't put it
Yes,
off. You do
right.
not, you know, have a bucket list, but don't think about it as something that's way in the future that you have to, you know, try to chisel away at it all the time
Yeah.
if you can.
Because that someday
So
gets kicked down and kicked down and kicked down the line, and then you're like, you end up with this
I'm
list of
moving, I'm
like
moving
stuff.
to get better light. There we
Okay.
go. Yeah, so
So
the
you
show
admit
is
it, you're
about this,
pretty.
and I'm looking less like Dr. Georgina Stanton because I the whole thing is really dark. You know, like Mike Flanagan loves these really dark, moody sets. And it's something that I had to get really used to because, you know, when you're a certain age, having a lot of light in the scene helps you look more youthful, you know, I mean, because it lights up your face, like what you just experienced, you know, me changing my light here. But yeah, so having to be acting in these darker rooms actually was new for me, you know, it was different. I felt like I was in these very shadowy kind of places. So that adds a lot to the mood, and our acting, of course, is different that way too. But
Yeah.
Mike Flanagan loves big, you know, big scary houses with very Victorian furnishings and lots of weird hallways that don't seem to go to the right place. And um, I never got the anatomy of this house. Like the house, like now where's my office? Like compared to where it never made sense to me. I would just take me to my room. But it was beautifully, the sets are gorgeous, as you would expect. The
Right.
costumes are fantastic. And it takes place in the 90s. So you get this kind of different, like you see kids wearing clothes that are a little different than what they wear today. So that's
Yeah.
fun.
Although it is making a comeback, and now I feel like this is only going to add to that, and kids are going to be
There
dressing like
will
the Midnight Club.
be certain trends. There's this one scene where the lead, Iman Benson, wears these overalls with one of the straps unhooked.
Yep.
I'm like, that's a cute look. I bet that's going to go crazy. Like soon everyone's going to be wearing their overalls like that.
Next time you see me, I'm going to be dressed like that. I'm going to be dressed like I'm 12 years
like,
old again.
You know, casually unhook that one strap of your overall. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was super fun. Okay, I'm going to change my look again. Going down lower
Ta-da.
now.
All right.
Okay.
And now next we're going to do like a costume
Now
change.
you're seeing more things on the back. Yeah, moody paintings
Yeah.
in David Anderson's office here.
Flanagan also really loves epic monologues. Do we get an epic monologue from you? Can we expect that?
I had never had to do monologues before, and nothing like what Katie, his wife, did in Midnight Mass. Like there was one episode where she must have had like a 20-page monologue that, so nothing like that, but a good 2-page monologues. And I worked on them really hard because, you know, I wanted to be able to do it all in one take, and you don't get a lot of takes, even on a Mike Flanagan show. There's a lot to do in a day, and they don't want to, you know, take up a lot of time with you messing up your lines. So I was under a lot of pressure to be perfect. And yet when I see the way it's all cut together, I should have been a little bit more relaxed, because of course he
Oh,
cuts away. Of course he's cutting away to reaction shots. Of course he's cutting away to the kids in the room. But in my mind, I was just going to be like on screen for like 3 minutes. And of course that would just be a terrible torture and bad
oh
ending.
God.
So
But you don't
I
know that and when in the
next go
moment.
around, next go around, I'll give myself a little bit more leeway, understanding that it doesn't have to be perfect, uh, for 3 minutes. You
Right.
can make a mistake once in
But
a
then
while. But
also, I feel like that'd be
you know,
hard because you're like, well, I don't know where you're going to want to cut away, right? Like what you're like
right,
wanted, what you want to give them the like. I did 3 minutes perfectly for you, so you
right.
can
There
choose
you
where you
go.
cut
Do
away.
what you want, and that was my
Exactly.
attitude. And
Yeah.
it was like the best challenge that I could have asked for at this time in my life, when you feel like maybe my memory isn't as good as it used to be, or how long is it going to take me to master all of those feelings? Because not only are they monologues, but they go to like 100 different emotional places.
Mm,
Monologues take you through so much of the character's mental landscape that you have to create, a lot of subtext and a lot of things to do with your hands, or your body, how you're going to make it interesting for the audience. And so yeah, that was what I did mainly every single day that I wasn't actually on set. I'd be working on my monologues, or my take on an accent in this show, because I get to play different characters too. And
oh,
so that
okay.
was like a way to pass time. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I just realized we might want to start this again, because my air conditioner has been on this whole time.
Oh, I
That's so
didn't
much
hear
better
it.
for your sound. You
I
didn't
wasn't
hear it?
hearing it badly, so it should be
Okay,
okay. But I'm
okay,
glad that
great.
you caught it now and turned it off. But I wasn't hearing
Um,
it.
yeah, I'm so sorry. I was intending on turning that off.
Oh, it's okay.
But yeah, so the monologues were really fun, and I hope people like them. I mean, my character is not like Nancy at all, like extremely not like her.
Yeah.
Um, but she's someone that Nancy might have grown up to be like a little bit. She's very sensible, and she's very calm and
Hmm.
motherly, and she offers a lot to the kids there, um, who need a steady grown up hand, in their lives, but they
Yeah.
don't want them too involved either. Someone who can give them freedom and independence.
Right.
So pretty amazing woman she is.
It's funny because when I saw the trailer for, I haven't gotten to watch the episodes yet. So watching the
Okay, great. Well, then
trailer,
you're in for a big
yeah.
surprise.
So I
Yeah.
can't spoil anything for you guys because I don't know either. But just watching the trailer and seeing you playing this doctor, it's funny because it's like it harkens back to like Nancy is like the therapist intern for the Dream Warriors, right? And it's
Yes.
like in an alternate
It,
world, maybe she grew up to be
you know
this
what? It
person.
is a lot like her in Nightmare 3. Now that you're saying that, of course. I'm sure that's why Mike Flanagan thought, like, oh, she would play this character so nicely, because he's had this experience. And the kids are very similar. They're all kind of broken in different ways. The kids in Nightmare 3 were broken by, you know, that are, whenever you suffer, with those kinds of thoughts that put you into a cycle of wanting to commit suicide and self-harm, and all of those mental problems are different than what these kids are suffering from, which is the mental difficulty of dealing with their own death. And
Right.
so they're all those teenagers are struggling, but they are struggling in a slightly different way.
Yeah. What was your favorite accent that you got to do in this?
Well, well, because I was playing different characters, and I didn't have that much confidence that the audience would be that interested in seeing me, in just basically different wigs and different
Mhm.
costumes. So I thought I'd really need to try and go to different places with my voice and different places with my accent. So one character I kind of have more of like a lofty, uh, aristocratic kind of very proper way of talking.
Mhm.
And then another character, I try to do a Boston accent, which I'm in good company with bad Boston accents, so I don't feel so bad that I tried, but it's like one of the hardest accents to do. But for some reason, this character just, when I read it, I thought, I'm hearing Boston accent. So that was super fun. Though it's really, as any actor will tell you, and if you're going to do an accent, it just takes 25 times longer to prepare. And
Yeah.
like I said, we were in the pandemic. We were pretty much isolated in our little apartments. So I did have some time, but now I probably should have spent a few more
Oh
months
no. I'm sure
working
it's
on it.
great.
But it was really fun. And the thing that's so delightful about the show is that you have this very, very heavy part of the show where kids are really wrestling with this, this problem of having cancer. But then when they start to tell their stories, everything kind of lightens up, but it also becomes really scary. And so um, the Midnight Club stories, some of them have like some pretty funny aspects to them, I think. And there's a little bit of relief. And that's the part I like about it most, is that you go to very many different places in each show.
Yeah, it's nice to have that kind of fun element in there because just that, like pitching it that way, I'm like, oh, that sounds heavy. So doing 10 episodes, 10-hour long episodes of just like heaviness, these kids are about to die. It's like, oh, that's a lot.
Your tear ducts are dry by like the third episode, if that's all you're watching. So this other aspect of the show really livens it up. I mean, literally livens it up, and gives the kids who you see in, their hair and makeup for the main part of the show is, you know, they're wearing a lot of pajamas, they're like in very comfortable clothes. And but as soon as the Midnight Club stories start, they start to look really cool, and
Yeah.
they wear different accents. I mean, yeah, they too kind of take on personalities of their own.
There's no episode where everyone is doing a Boston accent. It's like, oh, it's wicked cool.
No, but every kid tries to change themselves a little bit in some
Yeah.
way. So it was challenging, and I think they enjoyed it as well, as much as I did.
I imagine that's challenging, but just a shit ton of fun too. Just like a playground to just unleash.
I mean, it wasn't quite a playground though because of COVID, because I was telling someone I would probably hang around the set. I would sit and watch all the kids do their scenes before I had to do mine.
Mhm.
Or, a day that I didn't have anything to do, I would have just gone to the set and hung out. And oh, I better make sure someone's are you gonna come around? AFX Studio. Oh, hello. I'm not. Can I call you right back? Okay. I'll call you right back. Okay. Bye bye.
Yeah, I'm looking at you right now, but
Sorry about
just give
that.
me a call
You cut
afterwards
around
also.
that.
Hi, Heather.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it's
That's
me.
me.
It's me.
Hi. That's me at work answering the phone. Yeah, that's me.
Amazing. That was a cool,
Um,
like behind the scenes look though. I'm actually glad that happened. I was like, this is so weird. I'm just watching like Heather answer the phone for the FX stuff.
I know I told my husband like I'm not gonna be able to do that as much anymore. I'm so sorry, but I have I want to go out into Hollywood and get another job. So
Yeah.
he's okay with it. He's okay with it.
I
He's
love
a good
that.
way.
He's supportive, dude.
Yeah. He's actually hoping that he doesn't have to work so hard.
Yeah.
I can start bringing home the bacon a little bit more than I did. It's
So I
true.
know this is based on a Christopher Pike book. Were you familiar with those books at all? Were you familiar with Scholastic book fairs? I feel like at that time you were already
Yes, I
working
mean,
on movies.
I organized so many Scholastic book fairs when I was in the PTA at my kids'
Ah,
school.
okay.
And funnily enough, I was not familiar, but like I was saying, like the R.L. Stein book series and
Mhm.
all the Goosebumps and all the, oh my gosh, Animorphs, like all of those kinds of series for young adults, I was more familiar with. But I think, yeah, I really never heard about them until later. And I do know people who read every single one of them,
Mhm.
so I know how popular they were. But I think, I don't know. I don't, my book fair days did not include Midnight Club. But now I have read some of the Midnight Club and I can see why it was so popular because it gave kids like more adult kind of issues to read about. And the
Yeah.
kids weren't the kids were they had different kinds of personalities, I think, like much more serious
Yeah.
topics
It was more
and
mature. Like
more
I was
mature.
like all in on Goosebumps, and like the Christopher Pike stuff was like a little more mature than like the R.L. Stein things. Like I
Right.
wasn't reading that when I was like in third grade, like
Right.
darker, a
Right.
little darker.
Yeah.
I mean, I did try,
Yeah.
I read Stephen King in elementary school, but that was a little, like
That's pretty advanced. Yeah. But a lot of kids nowadays read Stephen King and you realize like the threshold is just that much higher.
Mhm.
People aren't scared by I mean, it takes a lot to scare people now.
Yeah.
They have been desensitized a little bit, whereas Goosebumps scared me when I would be reading it to my kids or whatever. I'm like, this is kind of scary, but now, of course, nobody would say that.
No, it's like, what do I need to do to scare you? You people are
It's
desensitized. What do you need
really
me to
hard.
do?
Really hard to scare kids. That's what I realized. Yeah.
Oh man. What was the most intriguing part of this for you? Like what made you want to sign on for this project? Was it because it was Mike Flanagan? Was it an interesting character?
Well, I mean, it was a job, no, but it also, I mean, I've been really dying to find a role that is as good as Nancy, that's it's kind of a curse. Like when you are your high school quarterback and you get to do the winning play at the final homecoming game on the Friday night under the lights, like, and you score the winning touchdown. Like I kind of feel like that's me when I was 18
Mhm.
playing Nancy. Like it's kind of like the greatest moment of your life, perhaps. And so I've been looking and hoping and praying for the kind of role where I could say, this is as good as Nancy, that as a character and as a show with people who I really feel are making some really great things. And it just turned out to be Mike Flanagan and this Dr. Georgina Stanton. I just feel so positive about it. I mean, it would be amazing if she was as durable a character as Nancy Thompson has
Mhm.
been for me. But already she's given me so much to to do as an older actress, a more mature actor, um, that I'm just so grateful and feeling like I'm kind of pinching myself a lot, like wondering if I'm going to wake up from this really great dream and it's going to like the opposite of a nightmare. Where
Yeah.
you wake up, you're like, oh God, I wish I could just stay asleep a little bit longer.
That makes me so happy to hear because I do think about that a lot where it's kind of like an actor who like makes their debut and then wins an Oscar, right? Like for a debut thing. And it's like, okay, and
Exactly.
then what do you go? Where do you go from there? Like you're already
It's
here, and then what? Like,
I mean, in your own imagination, there's so many options that you could do, but in this business in particular, you really rely on other people to have a vision for you
Mhm.
in their project. And I mean, a lot of times you're just working to pay the bills and you take any job you can get, but it's just rare that you get a job where you really feel like all the little elements are clicking and he's a great director and this is a great part and the co-stars are you won't believe how good these kids are. I mean, you won't believe it how good they are. And yeah, my husband and I've been watching and after every episode we just you know, we just are in awe of how real this scenario these kids have made it so real for us. And yeah, I'm just astounded by it. And then I see myself and it's hard to watch at first. So I watch it once and then I watch it again like a couple days later because the first time it's so shocking to see yourself as a woman on screen. I know I haven't seen myself on screen in a long time.
Mhm.
So um it's good to like the first time just get through it and then the second time I really enjoy it. I really
Yeah.
see what's happening on screen. Yeah.
See, I love that. So we get like teenage Heather gives us the iconic Nancy. Now we've got Heather all grown up delivering Dr. Stanton vibes.
And they're all
Like,
grown up
yeah.
trying to bring you something that you haven't seen a million times before.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm the thing is that because we only did one season so far, all I can do is think about like all the possible scenarios that we could do going forward. There's even more options, for these characters to do really cool things and tell great stories.
Mhm.
And um, last night, in fact, in the middle of the night, I woke up and I thought of a story that I have to tell Mike Flanagan that I really want him to put in the show. And so that's where my brain's going is and our oldest form of entertainment is telling stories around a campfire.
Mhm.
I mean, there couldn't be anything more primal and just original than that. And Wes Craven did it, and Robert Englund always says, Wes's stories were like the kind of stories you would tell around the campfire. And now I feel like, oh my gosh, we really are telling stories around a fire here.
Yes.
So there's something about the fire and the way that it's lit. It's so like spooky and magical, and the fire is so beautiful on this show. So it's like almost a character of its own. The
Yeah.
fire.
Amazing. I love it. So, okay, so now I'm hoping for a season two, and then I'm also hoping to talk to you for
Yes.
season two, and then you say, hey, remember that idea I said I had in a dream? I told Mike
Yes.
Flanagan, and that's episode 3 or whatever. Like,
Oh,
that's what I want to talk.
I'll definitely tell you if he picks up on my idea. I know he's gonna
Yes.
love it. So he's
He's
gonna
gonna
love my
100% he's gonna incorporate it, and I'm so excited to talk to you for season 2, and you can be like, that's the one. This is the one.
this is the story.
Yes,
I
that's so
know. I
cool.
have big dreams for my little ghost story. I'm a ghost story fan, like I said. So that's why this show in particular, it's all, big ghost story.
Yes.
So
I love it. I'm a sucker for that because like you said, that's our most primal. It's such like a communal, it's deeply embedded within all of us, and that's how we have communicated for years and years and years and just developed that
it's
into being
so
able to do it with
true. I mean,
pictures and moving
in fact, we're
images.
not doing it enough. We're not letting and people rely so much on TV to tell the stories for them now, like that need that we have to hear stories. But I think like I can see in some circles of kids who are just super cool kids, they're gonna sit around and they're gonna start telling stories like this as like a fun thing to do. Like they've invented this idea of telling stories to each other, like it's never been done. But when you see what these kids what they tell, the stories are so revealing about who the kids are
Mhm.
themselves. And perhaps, it's a great thing for kids to do everywhere and
Yes.
grown-ups too, tell a few more stories every month or year, make up a story that you really, really think is scary and see what kind of story it is.
I was that kid, so I'm hoping this trend picks back up again, and now we just have this is Heather's call to action. Everyone make your own little pockets of midnight clubs and tell stories for
Yeah,
kids
I'd
and
love to
adults.
see like midnight clubs, yeah, become a thing and kids all over the world are because you're not only just entertaining yourself, you're actually getting to know each other and you're
Mhm.
also forming like great connections with people, which I do feel is something we really need to work on these days is fortifying our human connections with one another. And we were so glad to be together in the pandemic when everybody else was, suffering, just coming out of the isolation and but still scared of being together
Mhm.
and watching this group of kids who, we were all in a pod together, so we all were, allowed to be in front of each other without masks, but um we like clung to each other like, little life preservers because we had all missed human contact for so long.
Yeah.
We were still in that phase where you're afraid to even hug somebody or,
Mhm.
have human contact. And, we all have to remember how hard that was and how hard it still is. And storytelling, you know, is a really great way to meet people and understand who they are.
Hell yes, I love that. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna actually putting in my application to be in your midnight club. I know there's gonna be subdivisions, but I'm applying to be in like your group, okay?
Okay, I won't be taking applications, but I'm going to be choosing very carefully because
Yeah.
actually I get scared so easily. Like, usually what happens when I'm with people and anyone's telling a scary story, I listen to the first sentence and then I run out of the room and lock myself out. Like I get so scared.
Okay, so I'm gonna tailor make
I'm
my
the best
story for
audience.
you. I'll go easy on you.
Gotta go easy.
All right. All right. Heather, this has
I
been
was laughing
awesome.
with I was laughing with my husband because I never really could scare my kids very much, except once. And I made up this character named Old Man Tate. And he lives down in this like old, old broken down house near where we lived. And he only came out at night. And like that's as far as I got. Like I never got a plot going. But my kids would get so scared that they would tell me to stop. So,
I feel like that's enough though. Like your own mother telling you, like, watch out for old man Tate just down the road. It's like, what? Like, you don't even have to tell me what old man Tate does. You just have to tell me to watch out for this dude and that he's my neighbor. That's scary enough.
right. And he's there watching you every day, right?
Because then your imagination, your kid imagination already goes to all 15 different horrible things that old man Tate does or does not do. You know what I mean? So you're just like, nope, not messing with old man Tate.
The human imagination really is amazing. And Mike Flanagan, he knows how to keep you hooked. I mean, I didn't really expect to have the reaction that I did watching it. I thought, oh, I know all the scripts. I've read them all 3 or 4 times. I know my parts. But yet, as I watched, everything was still unexpected, and I was still jumped, and I still felt scared, and I knew it was going to happen. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that everybody has that kind of experience.
I
In
imagine
October, it's a perfect time.
It's the perfect time for sitting around campfires and telling scary stories.
Yes.
So everyone watch the Midnight Club and then make your own Midnight Clubs, tell each other stories, let us know.
Let me know what you think. I hope people come out and see me from time to time. I want your honest opinion. I do not need candy coated compliments. I would like to know the brutal, opinion of my very important fans who, like I said, they've made my life so great in every way. And I really am going to depend upon them to be honest with me.
Okay, call to action, fans. Be brutally honest. Don't be brutally honest to me. Sugarcoat everything to me because I can't take it. But be brutally honest with Heather.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell me what you think.
This has been so awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to watch it. The Midnight Club hits Netflix October 7th, I believe.
Yes, exactly. I hope to see all of you at some point in the next couple of years. Visit me at all the shows I do around the world and say hi.